Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Let's see what we open. Alright, open some reasonable rares, although the problem is can probably not play Banalish Marshal and Chain Whirler in the same deck, and they're also kind of difficult to play in any deck. Traxos needs a bit of help. Josu is definitely very powerful in any black deck, regardless of how it's built. Manning is pretty strong too, just as a grindy card, and this is pretty bad. So, got some reasonable rares, but no bombs outside of Josu, I would say. Alright, let's take a look at our different colors here. So in white, what are the standout cards? Double Reproach is pretty nice, Unicorn's nice. We've got the Marshal, of course, Courser, Sentry, Quende, on Sarah's Wings. So got a lot of decent stuff to work with in white. Let's take a look at blue. We've got a Blink of an Eye, which is one of my favorite commons in the set. Deep Freeze is pretty good. Got a Wizard's Retort with a handful of wizards, a Snapper with an Arcane Flight, and an Adelis for the wizard deck. In black we have, wow, a quadruple Stronghold Confessor. Too bad it's not a great card. We've got a Cast Down, Eviscerate, Dark Bargain as some card draw. We've got our Josu. But overall not a very deep color, so we're mainly looking at maybe splashing Cast Down and Eviscerate. Fungal Infection is also okay. And in red, we have very little outside of a Chain Whirler, so probably not playing red. And in green, we have a Grow from the Ashes, a Saproling Migration, and that's about it. So green also looks pretty lackluster. And any good artifacts? Double Scaring Surveyor is nice. Will let us splash. Urza's Tome can be a nice grindy card in sealed. Yeah, I mean, overall, our pool's not the strongest, but might be able to salvage some wins. So white seemed like the most promising. And then we can complement it with maybe some black removal, maybe some blue cards. Yeah, I guess we kind of want to play Josu as well. Do we have enough historic stuff for Traxos? We'll have to find out. We might also be able to play some of these equipment if our curve is low enough. Alright, first off, let's add some cards here. So I don't think we'll play green. Yeah, I don't think there's a great argument for green. Like, I guess double Pierce the Sky could be okay. Flying creatures are often how games are decided. But outside of that, we really don't have a great reason to be green. So I think we can scrap green for the most part, and red as well. So we're mainly looking at the Esper colors. So let's add some cards here. I'll even add some of the more dubious cards. Don't think we're assisting, although who knows. Can help with the whole historic theme. Deep Freeze could be okay, although we don't have a ton of flying creatures. Yeah, our deck seems kind of weak. I guess we don't have a great reason to be blue after all. So maybe we just go black-white. Or heavy white for Banalish Marshal. How does black-white look like? We get Eviscerate, Cast Down, Dark Bargain, I guess Acolytes, maybe a couple Confessors if we have to. Do we have enough synergies with Whisperer? Not really. Would be better in black-green with a bunch of tokens. Maybe Paladin's good enough. Definitely one Josu. Maybe Phantom. I guess Whisper could be okay if we also want to play Traxos as just another historic card. We'll see. So we basically added all the black and white cards that are playable. Then we've got Short Sword, Lance, Tome, Double Surveyor, Traxos, maybe Partic Wanderer. Could splash for a Tiana if we wanted to. Not too difficult to do so with double Skittering Surveyor. Another historic card for Traxos. Don't think there's any other red card we want to splash for. Yeah, that seems reasonable. So how's our deck looking like? These are 4-drops essentially, so the 4-drops are pretty stacked. Sanctum Spiritus, cuttable. Cabal Paladin, cuttable. Don't know how many historic cards we want to be playing. So of course Banalish Marshal, quite strong. Triple white's not the easiest, but we are heavy white. Don't love Triumph, but it is a saga, so it does work with Traxos. Dub is also questionable, although it does have some synergy with Quende. Whisper doesn't look amazing, a bit of synergy with the Skittering Surveyors. As creatures we don't mind sacrificing. But overall still questionable. Do we want an Excavation Elephant? A bit of synergy with our Skittering Surveyors dying. That's about it. Can maybe discard something to the Urza's Tome. And then get it back with Elephant. I don't know, seems a bit weak. It does get Traxos back, that's true. I guess if we also play the Acolyte, there's a bit of synergy between the two. Still not exactly where we want to be. Phantom can also be returned, so we've got a bit of a grindy late game. And then Partic Wanderer, if we need a Curve Topper, that's also an artifact. So what if we cut these cards? Still need to make 6 cuts. Do we have enough cheap creatures to justify all these equipments? I could see just playing the Jousting Lance and not the Short Sword. Lance also works pretty well with our Quende. So let's see here. Bodyguard is fine. Faction is fine. Knight is just an early creature that plays well with Jousting Lance and Pegasus. Unicorn's pretty good. Reproach has removal. Kazan's removal. Urza's Tome giving us a bit of late game. And we have a decent amount of historic stuff we can exile. Trapper seems decent. Courser's very good. Marshal, I think, is fine, especially if we're mainly white and we've got Surveyor for fixing too. Confessor's cuttable. Sanctum Spirit is cuttable. I think we like the rest. And then Elephant is cuttable. And maybe we don't need Tiana after all. Because playing Tiana and playing Banalish Marshal are kind of at odds with each other, since splashing red when we have a triple white card is already pretty difficult. And then probably just need the Phantom to have a bit of late game. Partic Wanderer is cuttable, although it does have a bit of synergy in our deck. And then the Elephant is also questionable. So I could see just cutting these cards. We're down to 41. Maybe cut one of the 6-drops. How many historic cards do we have left in the deck now? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's a decent amount still. So what will our last cut be? I guess we can sort our deck by actual curve. Probably not playing on Sarah's Wings on turn 4 very often. So this is how our actual curve looks like. So it doesn't look bad. We're mainly white, just playing black for Josu and a few removal spells essentially. Could maybe get away with 16 lands with double Skittering Surveyor, although we do have 2 6-drops in the deck. And we might want to kick Josu. which is pretty mana intensive. Yeah, maybe Windgrace Acolyte is cuttable. It's not the best, we don't have any graveyard recursion or synergies outside of Urza's Tome. If we still had Elephant, it would be a little bit better. Yeah, let's just cut the Acolyte. I think we keep 17 lands, so we can cast our expensive spells, activate Urza's Tome, move around jousting lands. We've got some mana sinks in the deck, so I'm not too worried about flooding out. Alright, and then our mana base. Probably want more white for Marshall. So what about 6 Swamps plus 2 Surveyors? I mean, that should be enough. We're basically just splashing black in this deck. Don't really need black on turn 1 very often. And 6 Swamps plus 2 Surveyors is still enough to get double black somewhat reliably. But now we have 11 white sources plus 2 Surveyors for Banalish Marshall. Could maybe even go lower on the Swamps. Well, let's go with 5. And our picture shall be on Sarah's Wings. Hopefully he can steal us some games. Gotta make sure to always play the plains first, because of Marshall. Ooh, Knight of Grace is a good one. Dodges are cast down as well. So not the 2-drop we were hoping to see. Well, we drew 3 of our 6 or 3 of our 5 swamps. That's pretty impressive. I don't think we on Sarah's Wings quite yet. Seems a bit early for it. Just gonna play an Aven Sentry, I think. At some point we can tap down something with on Sarah's Wings and Trapper. Sanctum Spirits. Night attacks. So this heavily implies that they have something they want to discard to the Sanctum Spirit. Although I guess they might also be fine just erasing. Could have double blocked there, would not have been unreasonable. But now with the land, we do have enough mana to equip lands onto the Unicorn, attack with it. If they block with Spirit, make it indestructible, we can respond with Cast Down. If they just take it, then they're racing us with a lifelinker as well, which, I mean, is not ideal. We could always try and Cast Down it, make him discard something. I mean, I guess we could play Trapper, attack with both. If they trade, that's fine. And if not, we'll have Trapper to trade with Spirit and Cast Down if they make it indestructible. So I think both lines are reasonable. Trapper sets up our on Sarah's Wings a bit better. Alright, I guess we'll go with the Trapper line. When in doubt, playing a creature is probably fine. Sure. So the trade happens, which is fine by me. Play a Trapper and then still have the on Sarah's Wings if we need a bit of life gain. Alright. Opponent appears to be splashing black in a green-white deck. Maybe for some eviscerates. Spider seems like an okay cast down target. Alright, so we could on Sarah's Wings, but our opponent hasn't had the opportunity to use any removal spells yet. So it feels a bit risky. So we probably just equip lands for now. And then I think we do play the land, since I doubt they'll be splashing a Skin Witch, and we can play around it anyway with only 2 cards in hand. Yeah, opponent does nothing. Quende was actually a pretty good top deck. Could also on Sarah's Wings the Trapper, and then they have to decide which one to kill. And if they kill the Trapper with the on Sarah's Wings, then next turn Quende plus Aven Sentry is pretty lethal. That's also reasonable. Could be a Vicious Offering on the splash. Could be a Spore Swarm. And then we don't attack with the Trapper. I think I'll just send and see what happens. Right, it was a Spore Swarm. Well, they're taking 10 now, so I think we're pretty happy. Sure. Could have been a Gideon's Reproach, Seal Away. Could have been all sorts of things. Pierce the Sky. I guess we just take it, and then next turn on Sarah's Wings to have 2 lethal threats. Alright, let's go for it. Sweet. Alright, the Quende synergy with Jousting Lance was pretty powerful here. Hand looks decent. Knight plus Pegasus is pretty solid. There's definitely moments where it's worth it to save the Bodyguard, but I would rather just curve out here. Again, want to play the planes first in case of Banalish Marshal. We're happy trading since we've got another knight to play. And if they want to race, that's totally fine, given the tools we have available. Alright, Jeskai. They've got their own Pegasus, alright. It's going to be an interesting battle. So I think we just attack with our Knight of New Benalia. And then see what happens. Could also attack with Bodyguard and then Gideon's Reproach if they block. But I expect them to just take it here. No attacks. And a Surveyor. It's kind of a weird mirror match. Alright. Double Gideon's Reproach could be pretty effective. Alright. I think we reproach the Courser here. And then we'll play the Tome since I'm happy blocking Knights with the Bodyguard now. So don't plan on needing Reproach. Alright, Sphinx is a good one too. Top bottom. Ooh, Cast Down was an excellent top deck. So we can go a Skittering Surveyor, get a land, and then still Cast Down. Seems fine. There's an argument for going for the Gideon's Reproach instead, since our opponent's tapped out, so it's safe to Reproach while they're tapped out, but this way we get in 3 extra damage, which seems worth it. Second Sphinx. The first Sphinx does tend to lead into a second one, So the result will be the same as if we used Reproach last turn. Ooh, top. It's bad news. Alright, well, I guess we'll loot first, see what we draw. And then I guess we might as well attack with everyone. Give Night Flying. Alright, let's hope they're out of Sphinx to play. They might have also kept a removal spell on top. Alright, Academy Drake and another Courser. Yeah, opponent has a lot of flying creatures. Could also tap the Swamp in case we top deck Banalish Marshal. But if we top deck Fungal Infection, we're gonna want the black mana available. So it's a pretty even split between whether or not we should keep up black or white here. Alright, well, I think I'll play one land here in case we need to work our way up towards a Kick Josu, or if we Dark Bargain into some action. So attacking here doesn't accomplish a whole lot, since I can double block Courser, take 3. So we'll just have to hang back and leverage the Urza's Tome. Alright, opponent's empty-handed at least. And a Lingering Phantom's not bad. Our opponent will be able to start attacking with Courser and let's say Unicorn, and start gaining a bit of life back, which isn't great for us. Could also discard the Phantom and then later get it back. But I think just putting a 5/4 in play might be worth it here. Yeah, I just want to apply a bit of pressure. Keep land in hand to discard. So I'll block a Unicorn. Ooh, Traxos was a pretty good pickup as well. We're fine trading Phantom for whatever they have. Courser still staying back, they want to trade Knight for Surveyor. I guess we could attack with the Knight, and then if they want to, like, the logical double block on Phantom would be with Knight and Surveyor, but if we attack with the Knight as well, that doesn't work anymore. So I guess that's reasonable. And we're happy with that trade. Alright. And now we can play Traxos and get our Phantom back. I think we keep land in hand still. And then hope to top deck some historic spells. But for now, I think we still play the Phantom first. And play land. Seems okay. Opponent flooding out a bit, so that's the advantage of having an Urza's Tome, and our opponent packs it in. Sweet. So traded a lot of resources, and then we had Lingering Phantom as kind of a card advantage engine, as well as Urza's Tome. Alright, so far so good. Alright, we've got our Banalish Marshal in our opener, and 2 planes are ready. Yeah, this seems like a totally fine hand. Definitely want to play our planes first here, once again. Ooh, the turn 1 Ladder Elves. That's scary, so we could use a cast down to slow them down, or we can let them have the mana advantage. Of course, if we cast down, we're further away from being able to cast Marshal, and cast down is our only removal spell, so if we use it now, then if they play a larger creature in the future, we can't answer it. Cast down is still pretty good against like a Baloth Scorcher, a Mammoth Spider. So I think we just play the Plains for now and pass the turn. And Grun is kind of the exception of like a big green creature that we can't cast down. Alright, red-green, they could have a Halar as well, I suppose. Crows and Druids, and we did draw the Plains, so we get to play a Marshal. Alright, let's see if they can kill Marshal with maybe a Wizard's Lightning. Goblin Barrage could also do it. It's gonna be a Wizard's Lightning. Sack for 3. Alright, so we could switch gears and play a bunch of removal spells here, or we can play Aven Sentry and go on the On Sarah's Wings plan. Since they did just use a removal spell, maybe it's their only one. Dark Bargain here feels a bit too painful, taking a bunch of damage and not developing our board. So it's really between, do we cast down and maybe also Gideon's Reproach, or do we play an Aven Sentry? And if we cast down, we maybe want to cast down the Elves right now. I think we just play the Sentry. And go from there. Looks like they have another removal spell lined up, which is unfortunate, since now I don't have a target for On Sarah's Wings. 5 mana. But at least if they're using removal now, they don't have it for when we do play the On Sarah's Wings. Opponent just plays a Cyclops, attacks us for 2. Jousting Lands. So we're a bit creature light right now. Could of course On Sarah's Wings the Aven Sentry. Have a 4-power lifelinker with flying, which isn't bad. Or we could attack and then this turn cycle use Reproach and maybe cast down as well. Or we could Reproach plus play a Lance, although Reproach can be weak to a potential pump spell on the Cyclops. It feels a little premature to go for the On Sarah's Wings. Opponent could easily still have removal in hand that they didn't play last turn and instead wanted to play the Cyclops instead. So I could see the play being a Lance and then keep up Reproach cast down. I will attack despite taking 2 on the way back. We don't necessarily want to trade 3 damage for 2 damage, but don't want to trade the Sentry, so might as well attack with it. So we'll see here whether we need to Reproach or cast down. Depends whether or not we want to play around a pump spell on the Cyclops. Alright, Lava Runner. And Champion of the Flame, fair enough. So it feels pretty safe to Reproach now. Alright, got the Quende synergy again with Aven Sentry. So now if we Quende and then next turn On Sarah's Wings on Quende, that would be quite powerful. Keep attacking with Aven Sentry, plus Quende blocks most of their stuff, so they'll be forced to use removal spell if they have one. If they do, then we can On Sarah's Wings the Sentry. Seems nice. It would be even better if we can play Quende once we already have the Jousting Lance equipped to kind of get that double strike out of nowhere effect. But I think it's still our best play here. So let's see how they deal with the 2/2 double strike. Opponent plays a land. So the Crows and Druid could still trade for Quende, so we would just be taking 2 here if they don't have anything. Alright, opponent uses Memorial, that's a good sign. And finds Fire Elemental. That's beatable. And has to pass a turn. Yeah, I think we just go all in on Sarah's Wings on Quende. And just gain 1,000,000 life. Alright, opponent gives us a GG. Alright, we're on the play, and our hand looks reasonable enough. We do have both our 6-drops, but we've got a Surveyor to make sure we hit an extra land drop. So I think we'll keep... Yeah, would rather not have both our 6-drops in our opener, but I think it's still a reasonable enough hand that we should keep. Definitely want to find a 3rd land at some point. But for now, we're attacking. Fungal Infection would be kind of the worst case scenario here. Opponent might have a cast down in hand that they don't want to use quite yet. Deathbloom Thallid is also very good. Alright, there's a 3rd land. So I guess what we could do is play Trapper next turn, tap down Thallid by playing Surveyor. So I think we just play the Trapper. And then hope they don't play a 2nd blocker. Or at least one that we're happier to trade with. Alright. Let's Surveyor. Get our planes. Tap this down. Alright, let's see what they have in Gideon's Reproach. So that's what they had on turn 2. Decided not to use it on the Knight of New Benalia, which makes sense. Acolytes, we can Reproach. But Thallid does hold the ground pretty well, since it threatens to trade for Unicorn and Knight, but Lance will change that. So that was a decent pickup as well. Would have been even better with the Trapper still in play, but I think it was fine to attack with it. Alright, let's play our lands and then equip the Unicorn. Attack for 4 lifelink. Opponent can't trade for it. Yeah, if we were to... Wow, opponent just concedes. If we were to attack into the Thallid, we would want to attack with the Knight first and then keep the Unicorn as a better creature in the face of a 1/1 token. But yeah, Jousting Lands can be pretty good if you're on the offensive. It's not great when you're getting beaten down and you're looking for blockers, but if you're the aggressor and just play some cheap creatures backed up by Jousting Lands, it's pretty hard to beat. Hand seems good enough. Alright, a Relic Runner turn 2. Think we're happy to trade and then play Knight of New Benalia. Courser was also a nice pickup. Opponent takes it. Alright, they've got their own lands. But we are currently ahead in the race. And playing Courser is going to force them to equip the lands or play another Historic spell. So don't mind the start. Nice 1-2-3 curve. And if their best play is equipping Relic Runner, I think we're in a very good spot. If they just play creature, we might be able to cast down it and then keep attacking with Courser and Knight. Alright, Deep Freeze, that's okay. So now the plan is to wait until we can Jousting Lands to keep attacking. So the play this turn is maybe just to attack with the Bodyguard and offer the trade for Relic Runner, which is still fine. And then we could play Skittering Surveyor this turn, and then next turn we can go lands plus equip. Could of course also just cast down the Relic Runner attack for 5, which is not unreasonable, but it's pretty likely that our opponent has a more valuable creature we want to kill, like a Sphinx, next turn. Could also just play the lands and then cast down end of turn, and then next turn equip instead of playing Surveyor. That's probably actually better. But first things first, we'll attack with our Bodyguard. Opponent takes it. Yeah, let's just play the lands and keep up cast down. We won't be able to play Surveyor and equip lands next turn, but I have a feeling that we're going to be using the cast down this turn cycle. Alright. Relic Runner attacks. I guess now we'll cast down it. Opponent invested a lot of mana into equipping it. Alright, so we don't have to equip the lands. Might be better to just play the Surveyor and then just attack for 5, especially if our opponent has their own removal spell. If our opponent has something like a Fungal Infection, we're going to be pretty sad, but they would have been able to use that last turn as well. So I'm going to assume they don't have it. Play Surveyor, get a Plains. Probably should have kept the Swamp untapped here. And I will play the Plains, I think, even though our opponent could have a Skin Witch next turn. Just want to develop our mana, I think. And if we draw land, we can play Wanderer if they don't have the Skin Witch. And if they do have a Skin Witch, that's fine, we still get to equip lands and keep attacking. And our opponent packs him up. So got some nice quick games here, just curving out. And backing up our early creatures with some timely removal spells. Aggressive decks don't come together very often in Sealed, but when they do, they can be pretty strong. And it's not like our deck is hyper aggressive, we just happen to draw our cheap creatures in some of these games. This draw, for example, is a lot more controlling, so we're drawing towards 5 Swamps and 2 Skittering Surveyors to cast these black spells. And in the meantime we have a Gideon's Approach. This hand is definitely borderline. Plus we're on the play, so we don't get an extra draw step, but mulliganing is also pretty punishing on the play. Could see going either way. Alright, let's go to 6. I guess we'll keep this. Pretty likely to find a Plains here. Courser would be a nice spell, but gotta find white mana. Alright. Turn to a Unicorn. And a Lanaro Scouts. So I think we will Fungal Infection the Scout. Turn 2 Scout can ram the opponent by 1 or 2. So it feels reasonable enough to spend the Fungal Infection to get it out of the way. And blue-green usually has a lot of large creatures, so I don't think Fungal Infection is going to get much better later. Alright, Dominaria Scholar can block our Unicorn, sadly. Could cast down, but I'm just going to play Quende. And then next turn we have the option of cast down if we want to, otherwise we'll see what we want to do. Alright, so I don't hate cast down, so we can attack for 7. And I guess, let's see, yeah, we can play around Syncopate by playing our lands. And I hope they don't have instant speed removal here. Alright, opponent's on the back foot now. Land gives us Lingering Phantom. Eviscerate Quende, that's fine. Reproach, not exactly what we were hoping for, but at least now we've got an answer to an opposing threat. Alright, so I'm okay trading Unicorn for Thalid. Don't think our opponent's low enough where we want to attack with the Saproling as well. And then we'll play a Phantom. Opponent appears to be blue-green splash black. Ooh. Yeah, Multani is probably the best mythic in the set, thereby the best card in the set. It's definitely close between Multani, Teferi, Lara. But Multani is very hard to beat. Very few answers that deal with it cleanly. That's Exile Multani, Settle the Score, Blessed Light. Gideon's Reproach, not one of them sadly. We would have to Gideon's Reproach twice just to get rid of it, and we wouldn't be able to get in any damage. So I don't think the play is attack double Reproach. Can try and out-tempo Multani, because I do have to spend a lot of mana getting back Multani. But I don't think it's right to go for it here. Alright, opponent plays land, says go. Do we want to sandbag a land for some reason? If we draw our Dark Bargain, we want more lands in play. If we draw Tome, we might want to discard a land, so I think we'll keep land in hand. Yeah, Josu Vess is a way we can beat Multani here, and that would be a reason to keep playing out our lands, but we can just play a land if we draw a second one. At least we got our opponent down to 10, so they might not feel comfortable attacking with Multani yet. Sahid is pretty good too. Can double Gideon's Reproach it, but that's of course not a clean answer. Alright, so Zahid getting in. We are up to 28, so we do have a bit of life to work with. I think we hold the Reproaches for now, kind of see how our hand develops. But at some point we might have to kill Zahid with double Reproach. Bodyguard doesn't do a whole lot for us, but I think we're still playing it on Phantom. Gives us a bit of insurance in case the opponent decides to kill the Phantom. No attacks. So it's looking more like we're gonna need to double Reproach Zahid here. Yeah, I think we pulled the trigger now. Would be pretty bad if they do have a counter spell, because they can just counter one of the Reproaches and we lose both. Yeah, we did have the option of attacking with like the Saproling last turn, and if they block we can still double Reproach the Multani, but then they just get it back, which is why the card is so busted. So that wouldn't be a great use of our resources, I don't think. Alright, I think we have to go for this and then hope it works out. But I wouldn't be shocked to see like a Syncopate, for example. Alright, that worked. So could have been worse. Alright, there's a Tome, so that's the reason why we kept the land in hand. Let's activate Tome. And I guess we'll get rid of Quende. Could still use the extra lands in case of a kick Josu Vess, so I will play the land here. But want to keep one in hand at all times just to discard it to the Tome if we don't find Josu. Alright, it's kind of a waiting game here. If our opponent ever feels comfortable attacking with Multani, we'll be in trouble. As long as they just keep Multani back, we have time to find Josu. Compass, gain 3, that's fine. No attacks. Let's keep looting. Surveyor. So I'll ditch a land here. Play Surveyor, thin out the deck, get a land, play land. So let's see what outs we have left here. So on Sarah's Wings doesn't do it since Multani has reach. Same with the Flyer, Traxos isn't big enough. So basically just Josu. Eviscerate can clear Multani for a turn. And Trapper plus a Historic spell can tap him down. Have a couple of Historic spells left, so that's another way. So don't have a ton of outs. but we are drawing 2 cards a turn, so hopefully we'll get there eventually. Opponent hasn't been drawing many spells. Let's ditch the planes, play Wanderer. Alright, so now if we find a temporary answer to Multani, we would be able to attack for lethal if they don't have anything. Alright, guess we'll take it. Don't really want to block a trampling Multani, but this does imply that they found some blockers. It is legendary, so they can't keep both in play, but I mean, that's one way of giving it vigilance, I guess. I mean, I guess we'll keep digging. Traxos. I guess we'll play Traxos. Kick Josu is 10 mana total, so if we ditch the land and draw Josu, we won't be able to kick him right away. So there's also an argument for ditching the Courser instead of the land here. Yeah, Multani has reached, so Courser doesn't really help us all that much. No attacks yet. Might have to chum block here. Alright, so we could take 11 down to 1. Opponent's gonna get a Multani back from the graveyard. Let's say we do find a historic spell, untap Traxos, attack with everyone, they block Traxos and they would still die. Of course we would die to a pump spell here if we take it. I mean, I guess we could block with a Skittering Surveyor, and then we would still have lethal past a single Multani, and then we beat a small pump spell. Like, there's not many small pump spells, the one that puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature and gives it reach. But I guess we might as well. Plus this puts also a historic card in the graveyard for Tome, for what it's worth. If they have the kicker pump spell, then we're dead. Wild Onslaught. That's 2 +1/+1 counters, so good thing we blocked. And a cast down as well, so now the trample of Multani kills us. Alright, that's too bad. GG's. Well, all things considered, we were pretty close. If they didn't have the pump spell plus cast down, we would have had lethal on the way back if we found a historic spell, or even if we didn't, considering they tapped out, but of course they wouldn't have tapped out if they didn't kill us. And Kick Josuvas would have been an out at any point. So, I mean, our opponent didn't cast many spells outside of Multani. They also cast some stinkers like Navigator's Compass. But yeah, having a pool with double Multani, you don't need to have many other playable spells to win some games. Alright, what about this hand? Alright, I guess we'll keep. Don't have a ton of white sources for Marshall, but Surveyor can help. Would of course love a third land at some point in the near future. Otherwise this hand doesn't do much. But it's got a lot of potential. And we get to start with the turn 1 Bodyguard. Alright, so hopefully a land next turn. If we miss on a land, then things get a bit dicey. Plains, of course, would be the ideal land. It's a Jousting Lands instead. Alright. Better than a 6-drop, I guess. Llanowar Elves. At least it wasn't on turn 1. Alright, got the Plains, that's nice. I think we're still fine trading Bodyguard for Elves, even though we could equip lands. I want to play a 3-drop here. And even though we have both Marshall and Courser, which would make the Bodyguard be able to get past the Llanowar Elves, I think I just want to kill the Llanowar Elves if given the opportunity. but I don't want to use a cast down on it. So we'll just attack before playing the land, so they don't know the information that we could have equipped the lands but decided not to. Opponent does decide to trade. That's fine. So now I think I'll play Surveyor instead of Courser. Get that Plains, so we can play a Marshal next turn. And Josu is more of a late game plan, so I don't think we need to get double black early. I would rather get the Marshal out first. Of course, sometimes a 4-5 Menace Josu is good enough, but plan A is to kick Josu. Alright, opponent's got 4 mana up, so they could have any number of instant speed interactive spells. So it could be worth it to play Courser before Marshal, since Marshal's slightly more valuable. I guess that's reasonable. So we'll just attack for 1. See what they do. Play Courser. Alright. And then next turn Marshal will add 2 extra damage on the board right away. Alright, Spider is kind of a roadblock, but we can just cast down it, which I think is worth it. And we get to get in a nice big chunk of damage. And this Jousting Lance is looking pretty good now. Ooh, Tatiova's scary, but Kazan would not have been able to kill her. Tatiova definitely one of those mythic power level uncommons. On Sarah's Wings is also quite strong, but we might be better off just going for Jousting Lance here. Can Jousting Lance on Surveyor, give Marshal flying. Seems okay. Alternatively, we could offer the trade for Marshal and Tatiova, which is not unreasonable, but I think we want to keep the Marshal given the chance here. So then it makes sense to do it like this. Opponent is facing a lot of damage here, so even though they're drawing a lot of cards, they still need a way to stabilize here. And on Sarah's Wings could be the nail in the coffin. Memorial also quite good with our Marshal. It's going to be a Grow from the Ashes unkicked, so just a single land, so they want access to more mana here for their follow-up. Plays a land, draws a card. So they need something like an Eviscerate. But yeah, they can't find an answer to Courser and Marshal. Sweet. Alright, and looks decent enough. So probably gonna play Traxos on 4 and then Quende to untap Traxos. Still gonna lead with our planes here. Turn 1 assistance. If we pick up another 3-drop that we can play instead of Surveyor to untap Traxos an additional time, that would be pretty nice too. We do have the land drops. I think we actually do sandbag the Surveyor here. Let's play a Swamp, say go. And then just go Traxos into Quende into Surveyor. And I hope to dodge a counterspell. Trapper instead. Alright. It's Traxos time. Fungal Infection also looking pretty good here. Let's see how they deal with the Scourge of Krug. Something like Blink of an Eye, Deep Freeze would both be pretty good. Jousting Lance, fair enough. Get to scry with the assistant. So we can go Quende, untap Traxos, probably want to play our land first. to play around Syncopate for 1. And they will be attacking with Traxos. Definitely in the face of a Davenant Trapper, we don't wanna... Alright, they have a Wizard's Retort instead, fair enough. Not much we could have done there. So yeah, we'll attack with Traxos, and then we have the option of Fungal Infection on the Assistant if they equip it with a Lance, or shrink down the Trapper and then block it with a token. But I think we wait to see what they equip with the Lance. Would be nice tempo play if they equip the Assistant and we get to kill it. And next turn we can go Surveyor to untap Traxos, or we might have to Eviscerate if we feel like we're under too much pressure. We can Fungal Infection and then block the Trapper. I think that's reasonable since Trapper's so good against Traxos. Ooh, Josu was a nice pickup here. It's much better than Surveyor. Get in for 7. And, I mean, I guess we should play the Lance. The next turn we can go Surveyor plus Eviscerate. So this is looking good. Danatha. That's fine. Yeah, it was pretty important this game that Traxos untaps when you cast a historic spell and not simply when it enters the battlefield. Otherwise, we would have lost out on 7 damage. On Sarah's Wings, also quite powerful in combination with Traxos. But let's see here. If we just go Surveyor into Eviscerate Danatha, then if they don't have anything, they would be dead because they can only absorb 3 trample damage. So they would still take 7. And if they do have a Blink of an Eye somehow, then going for On Sarah's Wings is pretty risky. So I think we do go for Surveyor into Eviscerate here instead of On Sarah's Wings. But I will admit that On Sarah's Wings would have been pretty sweet here. If we could see their hands and see that they don't have a blink, then I mean, I guess we can still go On Sarah's Wings here too, but I feel like it's safer to Eviscerate. Because if we do On Sarah's Wings, then we wouldn't have lethal if they blink. So if they don't have anything, they would be dead. They can use Arcanist for mana, so they could have had like a Befuddle. They could have blocked Traxos and then Befuddled to prevent a bit of damage, for example. But alright, there we go. So got to see most of our cards in action there in our 7-win run. Pretty smooth sailing for the most part. And just a loss against double Multani, which I think is defensible. Alright, sweet. Archaeologist. I guess we could do some pack 1 pick 1s here as we open these packs. And this is actually a pretty interesting pack 1 pick 1. All these cards are quite strong, Elena Elves as well. Yeah, not sure what I would take pack 1 pick 1. Like, it might still be the On Sarah's Wings just because it can swing games like no other card can. Untamed Cavu is very good too, to add a giant. If you're feeling lucky, is quite strong as well. But I think I would take the On Sarah's Wings pack 1 pick 1. I just lost to this card so many times. Well, I guess I would take a Teferi here. Already had my playset of promo Teferis, but didn't have a full playset of the normal one yet. Alright, sweet. But for now, want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed. And as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.